Hi everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I mean, I'm so happy to be here. Honestly, this is like a very great forum, and I'm so happy to just be talking to people who I sort of consider co-creators, friends, and people from the industry. So it's almost like the joke Kini and I have a family meeting for Sehovi. So but yeah, it's good to see all of you. I mean, it's been a hard year. I don't think we've done the standard Comic Con meetup and discussing what the industry is like. So this is an amazing forum to sort of catch up with everyone on. So welcome all of you. Now, before we get started, and I have a bunch of questions which I have tried to tailor to all of you. I want to go around the table, and and this is from the context of what we were just hearing Ram talk in the previous session in terms of building this industry to be sustainable, which is basically the topic today. So I want to hear from each one of you individually, a minute each, on what your work has been so far, how the process of your storytelling has been, how the process of the survival has been, and what's the future going forward. So, Kini, let's start with you, and then I'll go around the table. I'll go according to the promo. So I'll go according to the.
Hi all, hi Ruddho, hi all. Again, meeting virtually now. बहुत हो गया ये screen but क्या करे. Just to start off, I think what I have been doing is I started my cartooning way back while I was a freelancer while in college. So what I did was I kind of figured out that if I was going freelance, I need to start branching out. So along with commission work, I also do my own comics, which I publish independently. And I have dabbled into merchandising my comics and my characters and to reach out to as many people as possible so that if they've not read the comics, at least the merchandise gets them to know the characters and read them. So I think branching out and, kind of diversifying is the key for me, going by what I've done all these years.
Right. Thank you, Kini. And that's an amazing insight. And I'm going to come back to that second half of that question. Next, I'm going to jump to Sumit from Bakarmax. Sumit, are you on? I can't see you though. Okay. So yeah,
look for the ugly person.
Oh yeah, found you.
Yeah.
That's not what your Insta story said yesterday. I was looking out for the handsome guy that was posted on Insta.
You know that actual photo had me taking a jockey ka kacha and holding it. These people smartly cropped that out. They just had my face then eventually.
Okay. You were literally a video jockey there.
No, right. But Sumit, welcome. Yeah. And I know you, like everyone else on this panel, you've been at the forefront of the new wave, if we were to put it that way. Since I think almost way back to 2009, 10, and
11.
11. I mean, I thought it was production ke liye ek saal aur piche. So let's put it that way. But yeah, since 2011, and it's been a while. So, and you've done a very diverse lot. So I want to hear more about the work you've done, how you've actually gone from graphic novels all the way to Bakarmax now. So over to you.
So basically, see, first thing that happened for me was when my first graphic novel was published, Itch You Can't Scratch. And that's when I knew that, print is more or less dead. Because to be honest, it's very difficult to publish books. And we were around for Ram's session also. And like Ram was saying, there is no distribution network, right? So to make a decent buck of comic books and graphic novels is a very difficult thing to do. So when I did this first one, the book, uske distribution mein, like I had to go and beg distributors and, and they would take these enormous chunks out of distribution. That's when I sort of realized that, webcomics are far more accessible because there's no point to a very good idea if you can't make it reach people, right? So then eventually, when after my first graphic novel, the very next work, long form that I did was Kashmir Ki Kahani, which I did with News Laundry. And that was a webcomic first. Okay. So it was a long form story. It took me 1.5 years to make, right? It was political history of the Kashmir conflict. But point is, it was a webcomic first. And actually, it's so long that since then, we've been planning to bring it out as a book, par wo kabhi hua nahi. But the very next thing that worked out in that experiment was Amar Badi, Tomar Badi, Naxal Badi, which was again a webcomic first. And then we basically kept developing it. And, after it performed as a webcomic, we put it out in print and it worked. So basically the strategy there was कि पहले you bring out the webcomic, people are familiar with it, and distribution for a webcomic is fairly easy. It's literally called tagging people, right? It's tagging and sharing. So you don't have to go and beg with distributors कि मेरे book को store में रख लो, ये कर लो, वो कर लो. You have to do none of those. And उसके बाद से generally I've been following that principle that I do everything webcomic digital first. And for that vertical scroll, and
Right.
Then I go to, if it works out, if it already proves itself as a webcomic, then I spend money into printing it as a book, selling it as a book, and that's then eventually what Bakarmax was built into. Other than that, honestly, for money, I do comics unconditionally, right? So I think
Okay.
most of my money comes from freelance assignments.
Right.
But
Right.
but I make a rule to limit that. So that's limited to
Okay.
only 50% of my time. And now everybody who's at Bakarmax, our time is cut off at 50%. So as soon
Okay.
as we hit that marker, we block it off, and rest of our time we are making our own comics, animated shorts, all of those silly things that we want to make.
Okay.
So that
That's
takes
great.
the load
Yeah.
of the original content.
Okay, and I'm going to jump back to that point sometime later. Now, let me quickly go over to Karanveer. Karanveer, again, was at the forefront of the new wave of comic books, with Vimanika Comics. So, Karan, are you there? So I really want to hear about you, how you got started off and how you sort of were part of kicking off this new wave. So, over to you, Karan.
Hi, Aniruddho. Thank you for that question. When we started off, practically, there was, I would say, nothing much. I mean,
That's
the
true.
only inspiration we had was Amar Chitra Katha,
Yeah.
and I was really inspired by ACK. And Virgin Comics is the time when Virgin Comics had just started out with Richard Branson plugging his funds in with Sharad Devarajan and Mr. Chopra. So, but what I saw was there was a lot of vacuum in terms of new age kind of storytelling, in terms of in regards to artworks which are globally appealing. Like you have the European style of storytelling, or the graphics in the comics that they have, and
Right.
then the American style and the Japanese, and you have manga and anime, and these guys have had massive markets internationally. But in India, even though we had a lot of population, which we do have today also, the comic fans which were there in thousands, lakhs, maybe even more, 20, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, that kind of juggernaut was not visible when I started in 2008. So we wanted to do something which was different, and we thought that let's do it, but there was no market also, and distributors were not supportive. And like Sumit was saying, you had to beg. And I don't know about borrow and steal, but begging was there for sure. And I had to beg. I remember one of the distributors, one of the biggest distributors in Bombay, was sitting with the CEO, and he was saying, what is different between you and Mr. Chopra's Virgin Comics?
Okay.
It's the same, what you're doing, and yours is even worse looking. So I said, yeah, my artworks is not good at all. I know that it's a start, but it's a start. You give us a chance, we will do very good business. We've got good partners, good team. We will promote, market. But all that was just, over the top script that was there. And the CEO, I still remember, he was very aged. He looked at me and he said, Karan, the only reason why I'm allowing this is because you've got passion, the way you're saying, you're very enthusiastic. So let's just try and see how it goes. When we did, and we got a very good response, but minusing the sales, we didn't have very good sales initially. And we thought we knew the market. We did market research, and I thought I was very smart. I'll put my face in the news and press and have all these celebrities come and launch it with me, and business will run like massive, But I made a huge mistake, and I made losses, massive losses. I was in massive debts after that. And I bled like nothing, like in fact, more than what at the speed, the rate of Flipkart is bleeding. Any of these big companies are bleeding constantly. So I realized, oh God, I am out, and this is not my thing. But when I saw that people needed something, especially people like Jatin Verma came along in 2011 and said that, we want to do this Comic Con. And before that, Mr. Dheeraj Verma also came on the scene, and he said, you should go to San Diego Comic Con and Philadelphia. It's very good. So we went there, we saw it, we exhibited also. And then when I saw the potential there, I said, oh God, India is बहुत मिस कर रहा है, कुछ पता नहीं है, और सबको लगता है कि सबको पता है, पर किसी को कुछ नहीं पता, अभी भी नहीं पता ज्यादातर. So जब 2011 में Jatin Verma came and he said, I have got this blueprint, he put it on the table. I said, this man at least knows what he's talking about, and we should support. If we don't support, I asked, you must be having a lot of publishers supporting you. He says, no one has come till now, not even one person is taking a stall also. I said, अरे बाप रे बाप, ये तो सब लोग बातें करते हैं, करने का टाइम में सब पतली गली. So I said, चलो अभी ये जो भी मेरे पास है वो ले लो और स्टार्ट करो, जितना भी थोड़ा बहुत मैं हेल्प कर सकता हूँ. And I did my bit, and it was, you can see what happened after that. It became history, and now Jatin Verma doesn't need to look back at all. So he's done a great job. And Animation Express also, I remember, have been supporting us since the time we started. They've been there. They are, like I would say, the twin brothers of the Comic Cons online. They are the online juggernaut and kings in what they're doing. And of course, people like Abhijeet, Kini and Sumit and all these guys after 5-10 years will be legends in what they're doing. And no, I'm not buttering anyone or
but absolutely
the fact is this. The fact is this, that these guys also have contributed so much in this, and of course Chariot Comics, Aniruddho, and ACK will always be my love. It's one of the best things that happened, and I really look up to Mr. Pai and his way of storytelling. But I said that if the graphics could be a little bit better, so then we were compared as Untitled Chapter Katha on steroids. That's what we were called, basically. Okay. So abs and chest and all that.
Yes, and all that,
yeah. So we added that, and luckily our Shiva did well, and Karan people liked. So I'm grateful for that.
I know. And then I think you guys were important in sort of kicking off that the mass wave which sort of took off with Comic Con. And I think you were mentioning, right? You guys were one of the first few sponsors for the 2011 Comic Con, if I'm not mistaken, right? With the official sponsors for that. Thank you so much, Karan, for that insight and for that historical note. And now on that note, let me jump to Sanjana, who comes from ACK, our old favorite for I think this generation and the next. And so Sanjana, you come in with a lot of baggage to this conversation.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah. So my journey has been a bit different because like everyone else, I haven't really, this was my first job out of college. I went and I got this interview with Amar Chitra Katha. My parents couldn't believe I was interviewing with Amar Chitra Katha. I had grown up reading Tinkle, and I joined them as junior writer way back in 2008. And this has been my only job after that because it's been so much fun. And I've done a whole lot of things. And I finally wrote a comic in 2011. That was my first comic script. And I have learned a lot on the job. I think with comics writing, what happens is that you end up learning a lot on the job because there's nobody teaching you comic book writing. There's nobody, it's just something that you either have a flair of or you end up doing and fixing. Like my first script went through 9 iterations before Reena, who's our editor, said great job. But I think with me, my journey with ACK has been like, over the years, as I've been more involved in the editorial, it's been more to Uncle Pai had already done so much. But again, India in general is full of so many stories to tell. And we've also not touched upon a lot. And as the times have changed, we have to realize that Amar Chitra Katha started way back in 1967. So those writers and illustrators were writing in a very different time. And we are writing now, continuing to have comics come out every month. We have something come out, and we have new content that we are doing, and we are making a very conscious choice and conscious decision to change the way we tell stories a little bit. 2 years back, there was a comic that released called Shakti, which was stories of goddesses, and we did, and the cover had this goddess who was colored, who was dark skinned, and she was gorgeous, and it just stuff like that. And we have comics like Women Pathbreakers, which is the first women stories of the first doctor, Anandibai Joshi, Janaki Amar, those kind of stories, which is still stories from history of Amar Chitra Katha, stories from India, but stories that haven't been told yet and deserve to be told. So I feel like in that sense that in the last couple of years that being part of that editorial process and to find those stories and to add to what Uncle Pai started and continue doing that is what my journey, that's essentially what it has been. So like everybody is saying, it you get a lot of from freelance work, which you do tend to add to whatever you're doing every day. But I think I've been lucky in the sense that I've had this steady job, which I've in the comics industry. And that's essentially been ACK for me.
Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you for that. Now I will, according to that promo, now jump to Saumin. Saumin, are you there? Saumin, unmute.
I think Saumin is trying to reconnect, but his
audio is not working. So then let me quickly jump to Charbak and then come back to Saumin after that. So Charbak, over to you. You've done a lot of both, international and national level work. So and some fantastic work. So I want to hear from you. How is it like to be an independent artist here and sustaining this entire thing, right? I mean, over to you.
Yeah. So I started as a political cartoonist in Times of India branch in Kolkata. And I want to do everything like editorial cartoon and graphic novel, comics, and story illustration. So I do all of things. I made some posters like Indian aliens and all the other things. They have an impression of Bangla culture. I'm coming from Kolkata, so I want to channel my regional culture into my artwork. So that's why I made the poster, and Indian aliens got a bit popular. So I decided to mix Indian aliens as a comics. So I made some two books of the series, and I did some story illustrations a bit. So basic motto of my works is to channel my regional culture into comics and illustration and everything. That's why I do Comic Con in abroad. I've been London Comic Con and Chicago Comic Con. So to promote my Bengali culture to the world. That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I'm still looking for Saumin. Is he back? No, maybe not. So, okay, now, till the time Saumin comes back and I'll pull him into the other questions. Now, the reason I wanted to do this is to actually get the questions out of you guys. So let's take the first one, which I had in mind is, let's talk about distribution. Why are they the great evil in our industry? So, anyone who, Kini and then Karan, do you guys want to take that? Kini first, and then I'll go to Karan.
So with me, what has happened is I had my fanboy moment when I started drawing for Tinkle, the comic that I loved reading and grew up reading. And I had a chance to meet the great Uncle Pai when I was in class 8 to show him my sketches. And he told me to come back after, I'm done with college and all that. And that happened. And the good part for me is my work reached out to people through Tinkle, and I'm very, very happy that I could do that. But when it comes to independent work, that was one of the first issues I had where I approached distributors as well. I completely agree with a few conversations here as to how those conversations went. Ki, arey, black and white comic, adult, those touch. That exactly. all these conversations just kind of played on. But the good part was, again, we had events like Comic-Cons happening, and that was, I think, godsend to independent creators like us, where we knew that there's an audience which is going to walk in. So I actually had the best of both worlds, where I could reach out to my younger audience and the audience I really connected to a lot, through Tinkle and Amar Chitra Katha. And by the way, Amar Chitra Katha, I had my first ACK story now. Few months. I was so happy about it.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
ACK,
so your actual written story.
ACK, no. ACK ran one of my illustrated stories. Otherwise, I've been with Tinkle since 2004 that I've been drawing for Tinkle. So anyway, I mean, I could reach out to that through them. So my whole idea is let people see work, and through that I could learn, how stories can be made, written, how do you connect better with readers, because with so many interactions that have happened over the years, you kind of pick up, the small nuances. That is when I decided to go into independent publishing for my indie series, because these are more so adult. And that's why a lot of even bookshops were not comfortable keeping it, because they were like, it's comics, so we're going to keep it in the children's section, but how is it going to move? I'm like, this is probably not for kids. I mean, then they're like, okay, but then it's independent, you don't have a publisher. So these were the issues I always had. So which is where you have live events, wherein you could reach out, like Karan said, we could reach out and we could talk. In fact, I and Karan were part of Vivekananda College panel. Yeah, and these were the conversations we had there as well with the students, wherein they asked, where do you get the indie stuff? We said, come to events or drop us a line directly, visit our websites. And that is where I think the internet aspect of it all, e-commerce bolo ya fir web comics, although I'm not too much into web comics as a creator, but I love consuming them. But I think events and the internet has really helped people like me.
Right. Okay. So, and this is something I've also faced, that in terms of getting distribution, getting that reach beyond the events is always difficult in this market, right? And Karan, I'm going to jump to you on this, and then I really want to bring Sumit in after you. Karan, you were talking about how distributors do not take comic books seriously. So what do you think is the solution there? I mean, like, we have this problem, but how do you think that can be solved?
See, there's over the years, initially first year, second year, I thought I had found the blueprint of solutions, and I have understood this game, and I can teach people also how this works, because I failed a lot of money was lost also. But factually, I think it is a combination, anomalies of many things combined. Like, Chacha Chaudhary example was distributed through the comic format and published, but then when it started coming on the television, it became even more robust and successful, and there was more importance given to it. So I believe in India, especially the mindset is of every public year that जो भी टीवी में आ रहा है तो जरूरी होएगा, important कुछ तो है दम इसमें भाई, वो टीवी पे आ. This thought process over the years, even this is 21st century, this thought process will keep prevailing for a long time, especially in places. And so I realized that it's not only just something innovative or something creative. If you have that and you have very good artwork, very good storytelling, but people are not picking it off the rack, it doesn't matter. So eventually what I did was I studied the novelists, how they are promoting, how all these guys are becoming successful, what are they doing different, that a comic book on the rack is still there, but उसकी जो किताब है वो बिक रही है, पर हमारे कॉमिक्स क्यों नहीं बिक रहे, क्या फर्क क्या है, वो लैंडमार्क क्या कर रहा है, वो क्रॉसवर्ड्स क्या कर रहा है. So I used to go there and I used to tell the crosswords, I used to fire the management there, and they used to wonder what is this guy got, he's crazy. I used to go cahoots, I used to say like वो किताबें कॉमिक्स के पीछे क्यों डाल, वो आगे क्यों नहीं डालते, नहीं सर कोई पढ़ता ही नहीं. मैंने बोला आप आगे डालोगे तो पढ़ेगा, राइट, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, पर आप दिखाई नहीं रहे हो तो क्या बिकेगा. तो he used to be quiet and he used to go back in his back room. I used to wonder ये क्या है, ये क्यों रिस्पॉन्ड क्यों नहीं कर रहा. Then later on I realized मैनेजमेंट से ऊपर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से कि भैया पैसा फेंकोगे तो सब देखोगे, आप सामने पैसा डिस्प्ले लाओ, 60,000 रुपीज का सामने डिस्प्ले डाल दो, आपकी कॉमिक्स हम 1 महीने के लिए डाल देते हैं. Right. This is all about the money only. Then I started finding small distributors who believed in my comic, who liked Vimanika. Maybe they must be very small, but small people, online and offline. their promoters, their publishers are passionate about comics and they like Vimanika, as you said, maybe one of our titles. So then I started giving it to them. And thankfully, our grace to God that our name is there a little bit in the market so that the distributors today pay us upfront and they say, okay, now we'll keep your stuff. Now I don't give on credit. But first we used to give credit for six months. And we lost so much of money. And after 6 months, the distributor say that आपकी 50% तो books बिकी नहीं है. मैंने बोला सर पैसे नहीं है लाले लगे हुए हैं और उसके बाद में वो तो 6 महीने बाद 50% तो आपका कितना नहीं आपकी तो आप वापस ले लो तो किताबें वापस दे देते and you know it there used to be damaged books 60% from there is to be damaged. What will you do? Will you go to the distributor's office from Bombay to Delhi to oh bhaiya this is 60% damage, give me that money back. So so much of unsupportive because I think they are the old crop of people who used to so to say ACK, Raj Comics, that and they saw these comics and say kya ye feel nahi aa raha hai, you know. So they took some time. So I think it is the overall time of the team, the Comic-Con, many publishers coming on board, the unity, the teamwork, and pushing it through over the years that has now started to change. This is
that's a great insight. And you know, now I'm going to jump to Sumit. And Sumit, you brought something up which is called for distribution, you use digital, right? And that helped. Now, since you have a unique perspective over here, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of webcomics in the entire lot, distribution is one thing. Where do you get the money on webcomics? A, and is the money only going to come, like you said, once it's popular, distributed, and then on to print? So could you let me know, I mean, where's the money when you distribute widely on digital?
So one is when you're distributing on digital, the first thing is the money is never direct. The money is always indirect, right?
Okay.
Because if you're expecting that today you'll put up a subscriber page, you know, and immediately you're going to make money, that's not going to happen. So the money always flows in indirectly, right? Now the thing is over time, because I insist on making comics a lot. So we insist on making a comic almost every week. And we insist on doing something, something long form every 1 month. So our storytelling has improved so much. Our artwork, drawing, all of these have improved so much that we get a lot of commercial work. And when we do that commercial work compared to someone who's only doing commercial work, ours is way sharper. So we keep getting people back. And then obviously there are, when we take our comic books to Comic-Con, vagera, we have a captive audience.
Yeah,
online dekha hua hai. So it's far easier to sell. You don't have to convince them a lot. And besides that, then you slowly getting, dedicated contributors in terms of, people who like the comic so much, they want to pay for its development. Right. There are people for 2 or 3 of our titles who pay us money so that we make the next chapter.
मेरे से मिलवा दो यार.
And that's the point of webcomic ना कि उसने देखा उसे पसंद आया, they reached out. उसके बाद I think साथ में I think also another benefit of publishing lot of people together is they bring traffic to each other.
Yes, right.
So there are a lot of people who bring, एक का comic publish हुआ, they also, so there's it keeps becoming, supportive to each other.
Right.
And I think that's mostly it. Like webcomic, the money you make on webcomics is indirectly. About as for, the points of distributor, the point of, books. The thing is, if we are calling distributors old school, the point is lingering to the idea of print is also, certainly is old school now. You have to separate print media from the idea of a book. What is the idea of a book is a long form story. Whichever place that gets done. But to connect that to print and the whole business of print is delusional. Na? Then you're also living in a delusion. There's a thing which is, it's not selling, right? Those bookstores are not going to say, for your passion, let me kill my business and sell what people might or might not buy.
Right. So I mean, Durjay Datta always wins over Sumit Kumar. So yeah.
So that's okay. The point is for you to make your stuff, and if people like it, it'll sell.
Right.
That's not a problem. Your thing should be, how do I make it reach out to them and believe in the idea of a book, not in the delusion of a book.
Understood. So now I want to jump, while we are on this topic, to Sanjana. And Sanjana, you are one person who actually has, I mean, ACK has been around, has that distribution network. So I want to get your perspective of how are you looking to evolve? I know you said there's a lot of new stories you're bringing in, and not necessarily mythology, but more history, more contemporary stuff. So do you get feedback from the distributors? How does it work? I mean, how's it going? I mean, want to get your ACK.
Yeah. So actually, I'm adding a little bit to what Karan said, that what happens is that bookstores tend to, because they have to make their money as well, so they tend to put what sells right in front. So it is actually something that for us, it becomes a question that we get asked often is, are you still making new stuff? There's a whole, and we have been making new stuff since for about 10 years now plus. And when it happens to be the same thing. So there are some bestsellers like the Ramayana, which we did, which gets picked up in general, gets picked up very easily. But it is always these newer titles which don't get put up front, even though we have a wider distribution network, is that we are forever trying to say that, have you read all our new stuff? Have you seen all our new stuff? Have you, so that battle still continues, and we are trying to fix that one by talking more. Another thing I think that the last year has helped is that a lot of the digital space has opened up. I think people have been a lot more receptive to consuming content online, even with regard to our app. So we have a Amar Katha Reader app, and we've seen a phenomenal growth over the year for people actually subscribing and month on month and buying comics on an online platform because of the way the year has been. So I think it has just opened up a little bit more of a possibility for us to see that as a very viable network to put more content out there. Because what we've done in the last year, print stopped for a lot of publishers for a while, and it happened for us as well, but we didn't stop making content. There was still stuff going up on the app, and through the app we have managed to have, like, for example, we released a Mahadev series, which originally our plan was to do one print comic. We shifted during the lockdown and said, let's do it in a series. We did it in a series, and it's been read over 1.7 lakh times across Kindle and our app. So there is potential there in terms of how things are changing a little bit. So I feel like there is
the pandemic has shifted the models and the gears a little bit. So now I am going to pull in Saumin, because he's back now. Saumin, like, I can see it's all bright and sunny where you are. So quick question to you, and while we're still sort of on this topic, I know you do a lot more work beyond just comic books, right? And I'm assuming that is important for you to sustain, make what Ram was talking about, a living, not, I wouldn't say minimum wage, but a living, right? So how important is that? And Sumit also spoke about how he keeps his freelance work 50%. So I want to get your perspective in, because I know you're doing stuff for movies, you're doing stuff for brands, and then you're actually doing comic book work as well. So over to you.
So I'm really sorry. First of all, I could not join earlier. So if I have to answer your question, no, Ani, then I started out as an illustrator, available like a mercenary kind of a thing for available jobs. So that was my foray into work, and comics has always been my passion. And what I've realized over years is that internationally, are comic book artists able to sustain themselves or are happy financially making only comics? And the answer is absolutely no, because in the medium essentially originated and started out in West, and none of these artists are actually like at least 30% of the top of the line, like Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, all these guys will be sustaining themselves by just making comics. But 70% of the artists are not, they are like complaining it to be not even closer to minimum wage, right? So to expect in India that we can kind of only survive on making comics is a very wishful thinking, because somehow the numbers will not work. जहाँ पे ये medium बना है वहीं पे लोग नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो आप यहाँ पे कैसे करोगे? Second thing is that our pop culture and our consumption of stories is at a different level altogether. You know, like mythology is something which gets consumed hugely in all sorts of medias. You know, like there are multiple TV shows about the same gods and still they are watched. You know, so basically what I think is that if I have to offer any perspective, then if I have to tell about myself, then I do comics for my passion and not for money, you know. And I look at it purely in terms of like quarter. I divide my year in like quarters, and if I have to spend 3 quarters making money, then 1 quarter I can devote to just making comics and be happy with it, because it's a passion thing and not like.
Yeah, so you need to hit that balance to keep your passion.
I have to balance it. I have to. My outgoing, because see, I am hitting 40 and I have to collect also my retirement fund. No, and these are serious things, because sometimes artists are not bothered about money. You know, we keep working for passion, and what you realize is that by the end of our lives, we end up being poor. I don't want to end up being poor. So.
Yeah, and you don't even have the chance.
And I'm Guju, so money is always there in front of me.
So yeah, I mean, and you're past that marry someone rich wala age. So I mean, that's why I'm still single. So you know.
No, it's not my thing. I have been marrying someone rich is a great kind of a thing, but I'm saying ultimately you have to get your finances in place also, you know. And I can kind of keep making comics also for passion. But I don't know if that will work, you know, because see, ultimately any top of the line like Karan has been publishing, Sumit has been publishing since so many years, Abhi has been publishing. I'm saying collectively, what is the number of books we have sold? It might be in some few thousands, maybe, you know, not even like crossing 5 figures, you know. So I'm saying ke wo thoda wishful thinking ho jata hai ki comics bana ke jeena hai, to wo sab.
So, I mean, I know it's very depressing advice for the.
It is not depressing. It is very realistic. In fact, it helps you align yourself properly. You know, I don't look at it as depressing. You know, I don't look at it as depressing, because once you channelize your brain ke ye aisa hai, then you can figure out your behavior, you know, because then I can spend 60% of my day doing my commercial work, and 40% of my day I can reserve for my comics, and then I can really channel myself for a very very longer kind of a haul, you know. But if I keep expecting कि मैं comic करके ही बहुत पैसा कमा लूंगा and nobody is kind of getting what I'm trying to do and stuff like that, so you will end up being bitter, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, let's be honest about it. Even Raj Comics or Diamond Comics for that matter don't have the volumes they had in 90s. So it's not as if, you know, those guys are doing the same thing and they're surviving as well.
Let's look at realistically that audience has shifted, you know. Audience is looking somewhere else. You are trying to do like physical books and stuff like that. Audience is consuming Netflix. The day one movie releases on Netflix, people hog onto it, you know. So basically, agar trends change ho raha hai, and if you are not evolving, like I like what Sumit said about digital distribution, that books are obviously becoming obsolete, like in whether you like it or no, in next 10 years kids are not going to be looking at physical books, you know. Of course 20% kids will be looking at it, but also one thing that what Sumit said was really key is that when you are distributing your books digitally, there is no middleman. So what is happening is essentially 100% of the profit comes back to you. You know, if I sell it through a physical bookshop, they are asking for 45% or 50% in some cases.
50%,
you know,
so goes up to 50.
So that maths also has to work, and on top of that, अगर evolution के chain में अगर evolve नहीं होंगे हम, तो फिर यानी you know how evolution works.
So now quickly, now I'm gonna.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to ask. One more thing I wanted to ask about that Shiva series. She told that it was read X number of times. Was it each view was a paid view or what?
Yeah, so this is across yes, also across 5 parts, and also across Kindle and all online
Lovely.
channels, all online.
She's not got the question. She's not got the question, huh, Sanjana?
No. But that's how it is.
That's why I didn't bring him in early. That's why.
No, and see what happens now as a company, when company will receive that kind of a data that it is being read online voraciously, then what happens is that course correction becomes easier for a company, because then seniority can decide, okay, यहाँ पे अगर हम लोग अपना efforts channelize करेंगे तो शायद physical distribution. But sometimes when individuals and indie artists, when we look at books, अब एक emotional attachment होता है कि मुझे books ही बनाना है, whereas ACK will have a much more kind of a swifter shift towards digital than individuals like us,
like us. So now, which brings me to what Charbak, and I've been meaning to ask him this. He is focused and he's on a mission to put regional Bengali work out there, right? And now I have a two-pronged question. How big is that market? And I can open it up to everyone else for other languages as well. So Charbak, how big is that market? And what is the response you've seen? And what's the volume you anticipate when you, let's say, go to even a Chicago Comic Con for that matter?
Yeah. Actually, I grew up reading Batul the Great, Hada Boda, and Nonte Fonte, all these regional comics, all these Bangla comics.
I'm also Bengali.
Okay. So I tried to incorporate all these things into my comics. And what I saw in the West, they are more crazy about their own stuff, like DC and Marvel stuff. And I also visited Malaysia Comic Con. They are more keen on of manga stuff. So the most vibrant market I found in Delhi, Mumbai, and all these cities, all these Comic Cons. Yeah.
Okay, so and that market size, is it? And you may have the answer or you may not, but it's just a question I wanted to throw out there. Let's say for something like a Bengali comic, is the market still as big as it used to be when we were young? Let's say that time, or has it shrink down, or is it on?
Yeah, obviously it has shrink down, and and it has been even translated to English. I saw the English translation, but it doesn't have the market.
Yeah,
like it used to have in the 70s or 80s. Yeah.
Okay, but are you seeing a lot more digital pivoting there as well?
Yeah, obviously. We should move on with the time, I think. So we should jump into digital. It's also good for the planet. No. The more we print, the more we cut trees.
Right.
So yeah, and one more thing. The problem with Indian comics, that's why it's lagging behind. I think the reason is we are trying to be DC and Marvel. So we should have our own stuff, like not Superman, not superhero. India doesn't need a superhero, I think. It should have own stuff. So yeah, and we are trying to be more filmy. I think this country is all about film and cricket and politics, right? So so we are trying to more to be filmy. Comics tend to have the second fiddle to films, so it should be an own charm of its own. Like we have animation of Tintin, it doesn't have the same charm as the printed comics, right? Or we have Tom and Jerry animation, it doesn't have the same charm as Tom and Jerry comics, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay, great. So now and we are almost like I think we have 10 minutes in, and then I really want to take 2 audience questions. So rapid fire now. Kini, tell me about merch and how that helps you sustain. So rapid fire.
Diversification, like I said, and like we all have agreed, it's not just one thing we can focus on as artists and creators. We have to diversify and make sure our talent or whatever we bring to the table can be branched out into multiple things where we reach out to multiple audiences, therefore making it commercially viable as well. I'm not a huge brand or anything that I can say, "Arey, मैंने इतना पैसा बनाया." ऐसा नहीं है. But because of diversification in tough times like what we are in right now, something like workshops comes into picture. Something like education comes into picture. Something like collectibles, like corporates. We do a lot of corporate based artworks and merchandise, custom animations comes into the picture. So I think diversification is a key here for me, at least.
Okay, great. So, and Karan, over to you on this, because you also tried diversifying from beyond comics as well. I mean, you went into art and all of those things, like, actual art exhibitions. So how did that work? Did that help you sustain?
We did a lot of stuff. It was very exploratory and a lot of experiments, trial and error. And it was mostly things that came our way, like we got into statue making, we got into action figures,
right?
Then arts. Then, Vimanika Studios took a lot of client work. That's the money spinner for us. And that's what's helped us, comics business was like just the core, but it was not profit making. Like Saumin says, nothing to do with money actually.
Right, right. It's more passion.
It was a brand imaging. It was a PR exercise. Maybe if you talk of it as a commercial use, then it's like a PR exercise. And literature does get a lot of PR. And the major work was the art business, the paintings that we sort of converted it, because most of our artworks was concept arts that we had done and archived a lot with our artists. So I said अभी वो use करने का, क्योंकि बहुत पैसा दिया आर्टिस्ट को भी, अगर आर्टिस्ट ने कमाया नहीं, आर्टिस्ट को पैसा भी मैंने बहुत दिया. So in my factor, when I gave a lot of money, I said चलो तो जो digital artwork किया हुआ है मेरे पास कंप्यूटर में पड़ा हुआ है सिस्टम में,
so use that
artwork को use करो concept art में and digital art में, digital painting के तौर में. तो ये सब digital painting and digital coloring, people didn't know much about it. So I said चलो ठीक है, let's just make people aware and just if we can make money which can go back in Vimanika, that is a good thing. Then I have speaking
engagements and workshops and all of that.
Yes, I have done Stephen Covey, I have done the trainer program, train the trainer program and motivational speaking. इतना पैसा वहाँ डाला हुआ है, इसको भी use करो. I did that, training and I take up trainings, in colleges and in universities. And then luckily I was very lucky and grateful, at this time to be called for the TEDx also. That was thanks to one of our writers, Mr. Shashank Avaru. He recommended further, and I was grateful enough to get into it. But the fact is this, that it was the support of the team, the people, and like Sumit himself said, it's a digital world. So now everything has to be sold digitally. And if you have a good content now, actually good content can be a good winner. If you have a good content and you create your source code, that is your people, your fans, and that base keeps growing, then automatically your business will also grow in the future. But it is like an investment. And 5-10 years down the line, you look at it, you can be very big in it. So I think it was many other things that we went to survive. Like Saumin says, is 3 quarters and 1 quarter is this. So 3 quarters you have to look at आप बाहर से पैसा कैसे, लोग समझते हैं कि इसके पास अमीर बाप है, वो पैसा है, तो ये बड़ा, ये तो सेट है बंदा, वो सब हियर से और रूमर्स है. और सबसे मेरे लाइफ का वही आयरनी है कि मेरे पास जूते थे पर लेसेस नहीं थे, मर्सिडीज गाड़ी थी पर पेट्रोल नहीं था गाड़ी में, तो धक्का मारते थे वो लोग. धक्का टाइम में नहीं देखते कि धक्का मार रहा है, वो देखते मर्सिडीज है उसके पास है, कितना लकी है, हमारे पास तो कुछ भी नहीं है. तो वो मर्सिडीज इज नो यूज, वो घर कुछ नहीं, पैसा ही नहीं है. तो लिक्विड कैश हमारे पास भी नहीं होता था, ठीक है, खाली एसेट्स होते थे और बाहर लोग देखते थे महल है, ये है, अभी होटल है, बट होटल बिजनेस भी रन करना, इट्स नॉट अ जोक. So that's why we have streamed into hotel business. We have streamed into that. But मैं अपने बाप के लिए नौकरी करता हूँ. I am a CEO, but he pays me 50,000-60,000 rupees every month. I am telling you my salary also on public. I get paid every month.
But you make a very important.
I tell my father, I said, you pay me every month, and if I don't perform, don't pay me. I'm very simple. But the fact is, people don't realize that. They think कि ये बिगड़ा बेटा है, बड़े बाप का अमीर है, पैसा है, इसकी तो लाइफ बनी, हम जैसे लोग फंस जाते.
Right. So, no, but you make a very important point here that most of us have actually had to diversify. And I really want to quickly bring in Sumit here. Sumit, you do a lot of satire stuff, right? I mean, your work is a little, I would say, provocative, if I politely put, but you do manage to pick up some branded work as well, right? I mean, how do you manage to do that? So branded content is what I want to talk about, and how, because for me personally, that's been a lifesaver. We actually pivoted to doing a lot of content for brands, and that kept our comics going. So I want to hear from you on that.
So branded content, and basically see, वो sense of humor Mad Magazine वाला और psychotic absurd चीजें करना, वो अपना sense of humor, and we want to keep working on that. How that works is basically brands को खुद के channel पे कुछ गंद नहीं करना. But when they see someone else doing top quality gand, that sort of gets their attention. They're like, this person has some sense of humor.
Of quality gand.
हाँ, quality gand. और अगर 2 level tone down करके ये हमारे लिए कर सकते हैं, तो very well.
Okay.
Right? So that's how this happens. This shock and awe sort of gets their attention.
Okay.
And then they, give us the work, but at the same time, why it's not everybody is not able to digest, humor and satire.
Exactly.
Actually, we had a episode with ACK some months back where we did a spoof of Supandi, where Supandi, is sort of the whole act of him being an innocent servant is just an act for him to murder people and take money. And Supandi sent ACK sent us a legal notice.
Sanjana's gonna hide now. I mean, she's switching off video going off.
ACK sent us a legal notice and threatened us with a lot of things, and we had to take the comic down. So the thing is, when you're doing that kind of humor, it's everybody laughs unless it's on them.
Yeah.
And then people don't laugh. They're not laughing, and then it takes a lot of effort to laugh. So wo kar rahe hum, and we keep doing that. How we manage that is we are taking pressure off the comics.
Okay.
The thing is, I keep hearing this term bar bar na, what is the problem with Indian comics? What's the problem with Indian? There is no problem with Indian comics. Actually, to even think कि सिर्फ India में हो रहा है, ये problem नहीं है.
It's not. And
if you go to
that's
two
what Saumin
countries,
said.
If you go to 2 countries, Greece and Turkey. So Turkey is, you'll be surprised, it's very uniquely placed like Japan. 4% of Turkey's mass media is comics. So they have 2 weekly comic newspapers. And right next to them is Greece, which has no comics industry at all. Right. So the world is not US, UK, and France, Belgium, right? The world is bigger. There is Tajikistan, there is Kazakhstan, there are a lot of countries. This is a minority success rate we are looking at.
Right.
So point is that branded content, it works out. Basically, brands just don't want, anything to... the thing is to just keep making comics regularly. That's it. You just have to set in that schedule. You have to sit down every day, get up, make a good comic, put your heart and soul into it, make a nice story, and work on your craft. Like improve it, and take that load of comics. Like Saumin also said, right? Comics ऐसा नहीं है वो इतना बिकता है नहीं बिकता है, but
the volumes aren't there.
But if you want to keep in that circle, right? Loop, मतलब पहले audience आएगा तो मैं बनाऊंगा, audience आएगा तो वो solve नहीं होने वाला.
It's never gonna work.
So there's this book by Ramdhari Singh Dinkar called Rashmi Rathi. तो उसमें ना एक लाइन है, वो बहुत सही है, जहाँ कहीं है दुनिया में उजियारा, वहाँ कहीं कोई है अंतिम मोल चुकाने वाला.
Okay, on that note, profound, and typically you. So on that note, I'm going to switch to Sanjana for the last question of this before I would take some audience questions. So Sanjana, of all of us, I think ACK has had that multimedia experience. I mean, you've been doing a lot more things for a lot longer time. So could you tell us how that's helped you sustain? How's the merch working? Because I've seen recently you forayed into soft toys and things like that, right? So how's that helped out for you? Does it work out better? Is it helping the comics like we all independent guys are saying? And so, yeah.
So like Abhijeet said, diversifying and trying out every possible thing. Like everybody individually does it, at a company level, we have done it as well. Like he said, workshops, or even like merchandise. Merch works a lot through events spaces, like when we do a Comic-Con or when we are part of that. But otherwise, at the end of the day, it's what else can you do with all this content, and how much more can you, how many different ways can you put it out there? Because it is a treasure trove for us. It's a lot of, it's 400 plus titles that have been done and which we are continuing to do. So it's just, it's the fact that we have to also sit down and say, let's diversify. What else should we do? We changed our website last year. We did it became from a shopping portal, it became a more content-driven thing. We did something called ACK Learn, which was workshops through when everybody went down in the pandemic. We did stuff with Abhijeet as well, and collaborations with brands as well. Those kind of things, commissioned projects. Those are the kind of things that one has to continue doing, because while everybody at a smaller level is doing it, to sustain the entire to sustain a company at a company level is also pretty much the similar problems at a larger scale, probably. So which is why to keep thinking on our feet and to be able to adapt, because we've in the last year adapted so many times and changed our plan so many times and said, but we thought we were going to do it this way. We said, but nothing is written in stone. Nothing. The last year has taught us that we can possibly explore anything and try our hand at anything. We've done online launches through the year, and I feel like people, like heads of departments, have put on puppet shows for online YouTube thing to connect with our audience, and we've said no to nothing. And we've reached a much wider audience. We did an Amar Katha family quiz during the lockdown, which was 5 episodes long, and we had an immense viewership for it. People from Assam were participating. We had 3 finalists from Assam itself. We had people from it was just the way. I think just to think on your feet and say, don't say no to anything. Don't say no to anything. Say
agile, adapt, learn, thrive.
And it also helped us reach a lot of like an international audience. We had people from quite a lot of places attending our workshops or our sessions, and even signing up on our digital platforms. So it was just
a lot of learning
to adapt.
So and this has been a fantastic discussion. And before I jump in, there's some interesting questions as well over here, and quote unquote interesting. But thank you to all of you for giving your perspective in. And I mean, if I had to sum this discussion up, it is basically not just about the art of storytelling or thriving in this industry. It's not just about making comic books, but doing everything else so that comic books remains at the core of your passion and you get to keep doing that. Then it is about adapting, changing with the times, right? And then, just making sure there is money, because, and this is something I personally faced as well. Like, look, how long could I burn my own money, keeping a job and doing all of these things while, money is going down the drain. The point is you need to make that operational and try whatever you need to, whether it's merchandising, workshops, etc., etc. So, and I think that's the takeaway we can take, that sure, we need a good distribution system, but we, as publishers, independent artists, etc., but there's a lot more going around behind the scenes, and that's not just here, that's everywhere else as well, right? Now we're going to have rapid fire-ish audience questions. The most fun one I saw is, what is the scope of adult comics in India? Something similar to Savita Bhabi. This is open, whoever wants to take it.
I want to take it.
Go for it.
See, there is ultimate scope. The very fact that Savita Bhabi came and basically showed everyone that there was a need for that kind of a product, and it became huge to the level where Indian government had to ban it. Now, Savita Bhabi talks to the audience in a certain way and talks about the stories in a certain way. But since I have also tackled erotica, I know for sure that there is a huge scope for erotica in India, because sex is something the entire India loves. Our population definitely shows that. So
and denies it also. Denies their
no.
Yeah.
So but we love it. We love it. Like from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, everyone loves sex, and I think we should respect it in the way how our ancient societies respected it and gave it a proper place in visual arts and in terms of performing arts also. Now, if someone, Savita Bhabi is a very bad example. Art should not be done that way. But what it simply says is that there is a need for this kind of a product rather than saying taboo or whatever, you know, कि ये नहीं हो सकता है. Look at simply a website called I Am Besharam, which is selling sex toys and basically pleasure toys online, and it's doing exponential business, you know. So my thing is, there is a need in the market. Now whoever finds a creative and a beautiful way to fulfill that gap is going to make a lot of money, and I'm kind of all game for it. I'm willing to try that, and I've in fact done my Kamotsav thinking that I want to kind of present a very beautiful take on sex and sexuality to the society and see. And I've seen my audience in Comic Con. I've had girls who are ogling at my art, and I've had guys who are basically wanting to talk about it more and stuff like that. So I'm saying it's a part of our conversation, and there is a need. If someone can tackle it in a beautiful way, there'll be a lot of money there.
I want to chime in here, and basically I wrote 3 stories for Savita Bhabi, right? And
wait, I didn't know that. Wait, come again. You did?
I wrote 3 stories for Savita Bhabi.
Officially?
Officially, I worked for that guy.
Okay, I thought you were just doing fanfic. Okay, well.
No. Basically, all the people used to take credit as XYZ Blaster because they were ashamed. I took my credit in my name. So the book I have written has my name there as credit. So point is कि वो वही शर्म वाला जो aspect है ना, वो हटाना पड़ेगा. मतलब comics are not just for children, and they are for grown-ups. And every article you see about comics is pretty typical, right? Comics have grown up.
I would just want to come in once. Ani, there was a book called Menstrupedia or something like that. One NID student, she had created it. It talked about such an important topic, and it was received so well. I'm saying there is need for such kind of products which takes in account the sex and sexuality and basically talks to all age students, you know, and it needs to be done actually. No shame about it.
Sumit, now one more. I'm going to take 2 more audience questions. This one I'm directing to you. What is the right platform to publish webcomics for beginners? Sumit.
So if you go to Instagram, you know, you'll be limited to that square box. So if you're doing, you know, relatable comics, which are short form, 4 panels, 3 panels, that's that. But the thing what Instagram has shown us with their new algorithm is that no platform is dependable, right? So first priority is that one is if you want to set up your own webcomic, good way to go. But right now it's becoming very difficult to bring traffic to a single solitary page. So best way to do right now, I think if you are looking at a global audiences, and every platform has its you know, priorities. So if you look at webtoons, their priority is more manga styled and direction. I'm like, we at Bakarmax, we are focused at you know, our Desi creators and the Desi tone of language, and we are trying to see how we can adapt graphic novels to basically larger format. So right now we did Karejwa last year, which was a longer story, and this year we are going to come up with this comic. We're still in conversation, which is about some Indians who went to Africa and who traveled from Johannesburg to Cairo. And their experiences into a, you know, 5 to 10 chapter comic book. So if you want to publish your stories, you know, sort of Bakarmax is also a platform. And
sorry, is someone saying something? Okay, no, never mind. So basically you would say either figure out the right platform which works for you or create your own. Is that one way to sum this up? Yeah. Like, I mean, otherwise own your own platform, right?
No, I am biased. I'll sell Bakarmax. Come to Bakarmax.
Or come to Bakarmax. I mean, straight up, he's gonna commission your work. Now, last question, and I am throwing it before we wrap this up. And I think no, we are just short of being overboard. Just give me a second. Yeah, I wish to become an illustrator and a comic artist. Can you please guide me on what needs to be done in order to become one? So Kini, you first, and then Charbak, you can go.
I think a good portfolio matters a lot. And today's times, as compared to what we had growing up, you know, there are platforms online, there are various ways that people can show their work. display their work. Of course, Instagram and whatever these platforms do give you much more than ye hame hamari pari ho rahi hai. Better than that, use it for something constructive, like show your portfolio there. So I think a strong portfolio, be it a writer, be it an artist, is very, very important. And networking, that is the most important thing. So one way or another, you need to be connected to the people you want to get through too. So use the internet. That's a tool we never had, and we just had to depend on phone calls and taking appointments. But here it's so much easier. So I would say that these are points that they can focus on.
Charbak, what about you?
Yeah, I think the best way to develop your skill is to copy from your favorite artists. Like I have been crazy about Tintin, so I used to copy from Edge's work and imitate the line clear drawings from there. So and use the social media as far as you can. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I mean, and there's one last question I can take quickly. And this is and I'm going to answer it first myself, and then I'm going to open it up to whoever wants to take it. Hi, everyone. To start with, what would you suggest to start a comic book series? Do you want to go series wise or do you go single story wise? My suggestion always has been go single story wise and then see how you can build it up. Anyone else wants to give an answer? Sanjana, Sumit, anyone wants to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to say that what works with the series is that it helps continue to build as you make more, because it adds to your the first one gets read, and then when the second one comes out, a couple of new people read that and the first one. So you start out with a single issue, but it's a series really helps build your audience.
Yeah, okay. And I would like to come in. It's not exactly. If you look at it, a commercial sense, it's not exactly conducive. I mean, you come out with series is very intimidating nowadays in the Indian market, what we realize. And we made a lot of losses with this series thing because you have got to keep it up. That's the one.
Yeah, commitment requires.
You never could keep it up because it's a lot of money, and you're putting in. And I'm talking in perspective of a publisher. I'm not talking in perspective of an artist. So if you just want to create a story and create fans and create something creative, and you feel that your story has a lot of creativity in terms of plot, purpose, and locations, and the 4 P's that you need for a good storytelling.
Right.
Then I think you should go on to a series thing like Sanjana says. But if you're looking at a commercial value and to launch it in the market, I think the one shot is better, right?
Yeah, unless you can sustain it, don't start a series. Is what.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unless you can. Sumit, over to you.
I have, I think 3 examples there. One is Addams Family. So Addams Family is a popular story, etc. Right? That was never started as a series. Charles Addams first did those as a single panel cartoons, right, in New Yorker. So from there, it developed into this thing called Addams Family. Similarly, so you never know how a thing can shift. For example, we did this comic called OTP. And it worked out so well that we are now adapting it into, if you can see here, there's this show on Rashtrapati Bhavan, basically a satire on the President of India and how his job is useless. So point is anything can divert to anything. So actually, like Ram also said, it's not science, it's art. So jahan develop hota hai, apne aap nadi ko behna. And about making money on that also, I think anything can make money. In our business is very subjective. Creative business is never objective.
Never objective. No, absolutely true. So I think on that note, now we are over the timeline. So thank you so much. I mean, it's good to see all of you again and to speak to all of you. And I hope to see all of you in person. Hopefully next year. So thank you so much for joining us, giving your perspective. Letting the audience know what the tips and tricks are to sustain. And I wish to be that we can actually have this conversation again 15 years from now. So, and we are all rich, successful, and have the pension we need.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining. So, signing off.